Hello, I'm Chuck Phillip of South Alabama Home Inspections, and welcome to another edition of Southern Home Talk. I figured I would do a short video on townhomes versus condos. I do inspect those for clients. Some are for investors, and others are for people that actually want to move into one of them. And so the main thing that I find in a lot of these is that the service points are not clearly marked as to what they service. And like the water meters as an example, you'll have 4 or 5 water meters and none of them are marked as to which unit they go to. And that's really important that they be marked, because it's just a matter of time before you're going to have to cut the water off in an emergency situation. Now, hopefully, you have an independent ball valve there that's installed when they built the unit to where you can quickly go and turn it off at that point. But sometimes they don't put those in the units. And I also recommend, if you don't have that you have that installed by a plumber, because I'm telling you, it's a matter of time before you're going to have to cut that water off in an emergency. And if the meter's not marked, well, number one, you need a water meter key. And sometimes they're filled up full of debris. And so imagine this, you've got a busted pipe, the water's going everywhere, and you're now having to go out to the meter, and you actually do have the key, and you don't know which one it is, and worst off, it's filled up full of debris, and then all of a sudden you cut off your neighbor's water, and they're in the middle of taking a shower. I mean, that's not going to be a good situation to be in. And so that's why it's really important that that these service points be marked and clearly marked. And that's the same with the electrical meters on the side of the place as well. I often find that there's a bank of meters and none of them are marked to what unit they go to. And there's usually a main breaker there that may have to be cut off in an emergency situation as well. And so you don't want to be cutting off your neighbor's power, just randomly going through shutting them off. And so, but the main point I'm trying to make with this too is to contact the HOA or COA or whatever it is, them directly, and find out, preferably in writing, what all that they maintain. And don't necessarily go by what the seller tells you. You really should get that directly from the POA or whatever it is, what all it is that they maintain. And sometimes, usually they do maintain the roof system, but I still inspect it anyway if I can get on it. And I found that where they've actually have re-roofed some of these, but what they've done is they have 2 layers of shingles up there, which isn't really good. I mean, it's accepted by the trade to do that, but sometimes these repairs that they do are really what I would consider not very good to be done to begin with. And also your neighbor too, the maintenance on theirs could affect yours. And so if they're not properly maintaining their property, it can actually have some effect on yours as well. And so just know that too. And another good point to take as well is to go out and talk to some of these people who live there. Maybe walk around the complex and try to strike up some friendly conversation with some of these people who live there, and maybe they can give you some inside knowledge of what sort of problems they may have had in the past with their units, what sort of problems they may have had with the HOA. And so these are things you're probably going to want to know, prior to making a commitment to buying these. Now, I will say that most of the ones I have looked at, they seem to be built pretty good. At least the ones I've inspected seem to be built pretty well. And but there's always going to be some issues with some of them. One of the things that I've discovered is they seem to like to put the water heater in the attics of these, and that's really not a good place to put that, especially if it's not readily accessible. And so that's something that I would want to probably get with the HOA about relocating that water heater if need be. But for the most part, ones I've inspected seem to be pretty good. I haven't seen one yet that would cause me not to buy it. But you do want to have one of these inspections performed so you'll know what you're getting into. And it's really important, whether it be a townhome, condo, or even a house, that you have your own inspection done, and preferably you choose the inspector and don't go by what someone has recommended to you, especially someone who has a financial interest in the deal closing, and that you want a really true independent inspection performed so you'll know what you're getting into, because you can, wind up having to spend a lot of money, thinking that the HOA or the is going to take care of some of these issues, and that might not be the HOA's responsibility. That might be yours. And so anyway, I figured I'd make this really short and to the point. If you know anyone who needs to have an inspection performed on a townhome, condo, or house, and even a general condition inspection is good to do if you've never had one, because that can kind of sort of help prioritize any issues you might be having. And it can save you a lot of money too, because there's no financial interest in me finding problems, because since I'm not going to be doing any repairs on any of it. So you'll actually get an unbiased opinion about how to maybe prioritize if there's any issues found. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, and take care.